Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I am Presiding Judge Samantha Jessner, and with me today is Executive Officer and Clerk of Court, David Slayton. We are here to share some important and exciting ways the court is using our share of $30 million in state funding to recruit and retain official court reporters in as many courtrooms as possible on the nation's largest trial court. These highly trained court professionals provide meaningful access to justice by taking and preserving the verbatim record of proceedings, which is especially important in probate, family law, and civil cases where many of the litigants do not have legal representation, and we do not currently have the ability to regularly assign court reporters in those case types. Although state law does not require the court to provide court reporters in probate, family law, and civil cases, we recognize that preserving a verbatim record is essential, especially for self-represented litigants and those who cannot afford to hire their own court reporter. As judges, we highly respect and value court reporters for their expertise and role in promoting access to justice. But that's not the only reason we hold them in such high esteem. They are valued members of our court family, who work alongside us day after day to serve and help the residents of Los Angeles County and ensure meaningful access to justice. Before I invite David Slayton to the lectern to provide the details of this new package of court reporter incentives, I want to sincerely thank Governor Gavin Newsom and the legislature for providing the court with nearly $10 million in state funding this year for these recruitment and retention efforts. We are grateful that all branches of government in California are working collaboratively on ways to promote access to justice for as many Californians as possible. And we look forward to continuing to work together in the days ahead on ways to strengthen, build, and support our cadre of official court reporters. Our new CEO, David Slayton.
Thank you very much, Judge Jessner. Thank you for being here today. As the leader of the largest trial court workforce in the nation, I am proud to announce today the details of this unprecedented agreement of incentives to recruit, retain, and reward official court reporters in Los Angeles County. But before I do, I want to provide a few examples of the people most impacted by the absence of court reporters, specifically in family, civil, and probate cases. Parties in domestic violence, divorce, child custody, guardianship, and conservator cases, many of whom are non-English speakers and unable to afford hiring an attorney to represent them, seek court intervention every day to help resolve their disputes. And without a verbatim record of the proceedings, meaningful access to justice is hindered for them. It makes it challenging for litigants to meaningfully preserve critical rights on appeal. The causes for the shortage of official court reporters in LA, California, and across the nation are the subject of intense debate. But today, the past is not our focus. Instead, we are here to announce the court's aggressive efforts to recruit and retain official court reporters. The court is committed to doing everything possible to ensure that litigants have access to these professionals. We are doing this first by offering generous retention opportunities for our current court reporters, recognizing their value to the court and maximizing the court's ability to retain them. At the same time, we are aggressively recruiting court reporters in the private sector with a series of opportunities highlighting that the LA Superior Court is an employer of choice. Lastly, we are incentivizing individuals to enter the court reporting profession and reducing the financial barriers to obtaining the required education. Thanks to a $30 million statewide investment by Governor Gavin Newsom and the legislature to assist courts in increasing the number of court reporters, the court is using our portion of the $9.5 million in funding to launch an aggressive recruitment and retention program. I join Presiding Judge Jessner in expressing my gratitude to the governor and the legislature for working with the judicial branch to provide funding for courts to help with recruitment and retention efforts. I also want to thank our existing court reporter workforce for their work in the court and acknowledge our labor partners for their creativity and collaboration on these solutions. Here are some of the details we are announcing today. To help us find qualified candidates for the 100 vacancies, we are offering current employees a $15,000 finder's fee for the successful onboarding of an official court reporter. The court has been actively recruiting for these positions, but now we're incentivizing all of our employees to join us in finding court reporters for the positions. To entice licensed court reporters to join the court, we are offering a $20,000 signing bonus. To retain our existing court reporters, we are offering retention bonuses of $17,500 to stay over the next 3 years. The longer a court reporter stays with us, the larger the bonus will be. And for court reporters with more than 25 years of service, many of whom are eligible to retire, we are offering $10,000 per year for them to continue working for the court. And lastly, we're providing a 5% ongoing bonus for court reporters who are required to float from courtroom to courtroom across our large county every day. These floaters ensure that we can provide coverage in places where we would not otherwise be able to do so. We also are increasing the salary of all of our current court reporters to the court's maximum salary for the position and increasing the starting salary for all new court reporters. And since court reporting equipment and schooling costs can be a barrier to entry into the profession, the court is offering a $27,500 allowance for student loan assistance and equipment to help offset those costs. In closing, without a change to our current trajectory, the future is clear. As early as next year, the court will not have enough court reporters to provide a verbatim record in most proceedings, including in felony criminal, juvenile dependency, and juvenile justice cases where court reporters are required by law. We are optimistic that these efforts today to offer substantial incentives to attract new court reporters and retain our highly trained and valuable core of official court reporters will help address the shortage. We are committed to seeking every possible solution to recruit and retain official court reporters by working with the union, Governor Newsom, lawmakers, and other stakeholders to address the court reporter shortage in LA County and other California trial courts. Working together to develop ways to provide every litigant in California with access to the official record of a proceeding, especially in case types that so significantly impact the lives of the people the justice system serves, must be our collective focus. We look forward to doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Presiding Judge Jessner and Mr. Slayton. We'll now take questions from the media. As a reminder, please raise your virtual hand if you'd like to ask a question and unmute yourself once called upon. Please state your name and organization before asking your question. Go ahead, please. VG, go ahead. Please state your name and your organization.
Yeah, my name is Vijay Sundaram. I'm a reporter with the San Francisco Public Press. Why did this it come to such a stage where you had to make that announcement that from November 14th, you will not be providing court reporters in family law cases?
Well, one thing is a real issue for us, which is that we have a large number of vacancies on the court. So the court has 431 authorized court reporter positions, and we have 100 vacancies, meaning we only have 331 official court reporters to cover the court. Because the law requires us to provide coverage in felony criminal, juvenile dependency, and juvenile justice cases, of course, we have to make sure that those court reporters are available. So obviously our actions today are to allow us to be able to provide court reporters in those other case types that the November 14th decision was impacted by. So in the family law, probate, and civil case types, we are hopeful that if our actions here are effective in recruiting and retaining our court reporters, we will be able to provide court reporters in those case types.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
How optimistic are you that you are going to be able to fill the 100 vacancies? And what is the time by which you got to do it, or else maybe return the money to the state? Is that what you got a deadline on that?
So thank you for the question. Basically, we are optimistic. We wouldn't be announcing this today if we didn't think we were going to be successful. We've worked closely with our union partners and other stakeholders to really try to put together a package that will indeed incentivize our existing court reporter workforce to stay with us and to recruit individuals in the private sector who might come join the court, and to incentivize people who might be willing to go to court reporting school to do so. We're hopeful that those efforts will be successful in allowing us to fill those vacancies and be successful. As to the money, the funding is available for this fiscal year. It expires at the end of this fiscal year, at the end of June of this year. Our efforts that we believe will allow us to spend this money. In fact, if we're successful, we will spend more than what's been appropriated to the court for this purpose. And so we are hopeful that we will do that. Of course, if the funding continues in future years, we will continue to address our efforts working with the union and other stakeholders to continue to refine our process to make sure that we are able to meet the goal that we have of making sure that there are court reporters to provide that verbatim record in LA County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, VG. Devin, please state your name and your media organization, please, and unmute yourself.
Yes, so my name is Devin Belcher, and I am a reporter for the Daily Journal in Los Angeles. Which kind of courts in California still won't have court reporters under this new plan, due to the shorter staff?
Well, of course, the law provides that there are options for electronic recording in certain courts. And so if you look at the Los Angeles County courts, for instance, there are already electronic recording and no court reporters in about 200 of our courtrooms in limited proceedings and other types of case types that are out there. And so those, we don't anticipate that we will be able to meet those needs and change that. What we're hopeful for is that, of course, what we call the mandated case types, felony, criminal, juvenile dependency, and juvenile justice cases, that we will continue to be able to provide court reporters in those courts, but also to be able to, if we're successful in this effort, be able to backfill court reporters into family law, civil, and probate cases. And so that is our goal, and that's what we're hopeful for.
Okay. And then, since this is the largest is the largest local trial court in the country, do you anticipate this plan to be enough to affect those statewide that aren't interested in the court reporting?
Of course, it's a huge challenge for the whole state. Every court in California is struggling, similar to us, to find that. So in some senses, we are in a competition with each other, but we're all working together collaboratively, the trial courts across the state, to come up with solutions to try to incentivize people to enter the profession. And this announcement today is just one of those efforts that's going on all across the state. So we're hopeful that working together and working with the union and schools and others, that we'll be able to incentivize people to join the profession. And for those who are currently working in the court reporting profession, that if they work for the courts, they will stay with us a little longer. And if they're working in the private sector, that they'll find the court as an employer of choice.
Okay. And then just one final thing. With this plan, how do you anticipate to overcome the problem that people aren't getting their licenses and becoming court reporters?
Well, one of the things that we know is a significant barrier to entry. One of the significant barriers to entry to the court reporting profession and schooling is the cost, both of the cost of school, which on average is about $25,000 a year, as well as the cost of equipment that many times is a barrier. And so as part of the incentives, you saw that the court is offering a student loan repayment assistance, so that if a court reporter comes and works for the court, we will pay up to $27,500 of their student loans back, hopefully covering that plus allowing an equipment allowance that we would offset the cost of their equipment. So we're trying to reduce the barriers for someone to who might be interested in doing this from going to school and being able to enter into the profession and hopefully come work for the court. So that's our attempt, and we're going to be working with schools and others to try to help continue to incentivize people, working with community colleges. We're also I should have mentioned earlier, we're also going to be embarking upon a pretty aggressive advertising campaign to try to make sure that not only the court reporters who are out there know about the opportunities here at the Los Angeles Superior Court, but also the individuals who might be interested in considering this as a profession know about the opportunities that will be available to them through the court.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Cheryl Miller, please unmute yourself, state your media affiliation, and go ahead and ask your questions, please.
Hi, this is Cheryl Miller with Law.com. Last year, after the legislature and governor provided $30 million to the courts for court reporters, the court issued a fact sheet saying, quote, staffing shortage problem, not a funding problem. The court also signed on to a multi-court press release saying that, again, funding is not the problem. It was actually the shortage of court reporters across the state that was causing the problem. I'm wondering what has changed and why you think now that perhaps after some pressure from lawmakers, it's time to rethink that position.
Well, I think the court's thought on this is that, we're hopeful that these incentives that we've worked really closely with our union partners and other stakeholders to put together will provide an incentive for our current court reporters to stay. And that we'll be able to recruit individuals from the public sector, from the private sector to come join the court, and that we might also be able to incentivize some people who might otherwise not enter the profession to actually consider going to school and becoming a court reporter. Clearly, we'll have to wait and see how that works out. But we believe that it's at least an opportunity for us to give it a shot here today, and certainly we'll be monitoring that over the next couple of months and providing more data to you all about how it's going, how our efforts are going. But we are hopeful, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this today, that our efforts will be fruitful.
Do you think that the court is going to have to eventually rely on increased use of electronic reporting?
Well, we're hopeful again. We wouldn't be doing this today if we didn't think that we would have the opportunity to begin to incentivize our current court reporters to stay with us longer, which will, of course, help push off any need to transition away from the use of the official court reporter. We're also hopeful that individuals who are out there in the private sector see this as an opportunity to join a really great place to work at the Los Angeles Superior Court, and that perhaps individuals who might be considering a profession will see that we are offering incentives to help them get through school without a load of debt on their backs, and will come join us in a great place. And so we're hopeful that that decision is not something we'll have to embark on because of these efforts today.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cheryl. Any other questions for Mr. Slayton before we wrap this up? VG, go ahead, please.
Why is the Los Angeles County so reluctant to transition to electronic reporting when it could save the state a lot of money?
Well, a couple of things are really important. First of all, there are limits on what the court can do by statute. First of all, electronic recording is only allowed in certain case types, as you may be aware, and the court is using electronic recording there. Second of all, I think we have a family of court reporters who work with us, and we are trying to use them. We believe that they provide a great record for us, a great verbatim record, and so we are trying to use them. And these efforts today are meant to try to allow us to continue to use those resources as much as we can.
I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
So I understand that you're trying to go on the route where you will hire more human beings and have them do the court reporting, but many states have been very successful in electronic recording in courts. Why it can only be done through the legislature. is any effort being done to influence the legislature to do it? Because I know the union beat back many efforts in the past to switch to electronic recording. Will anything be done in that direction, or are you just going to depend on court reporters?
You know, at this point, the court has been provided funding from the governor and the legislature to try to bring on, recruit and retain official court reporters for our court, and that is what we are doing. Obviously, there may be conversations happening in Sacramento about how to best deal with the situation long term, but our focus today and in the near future is on how we can make sure we can provide a verbatim record to individuals that are entering our courts. And at this point, the option that we have available to us are official court reporters, and we're going to do everything within our power to make sure individuals and litigants entering our courts who have such critical issues to bring before the courts, that they will have a verbatim record. And the way that we have the opportunity to do that today is through official court reporters. And so these efforts today are meant to try to assist us in providing that service to the public.
But isn't there a statute on the books already, the Jameson versus Desta case, which requires the courts to provide poor litigants with court reporters free pro bono? Why is it being ignored?
Well, the case that you're referring to, for everyone's benefit, is a case that requires when someone has filed a fee waiver with the court and that's been granted, and then they request a court reporter, that the court is obligated to provide, under that case law, a court reporter in those situations. The court continues to provide court reporters in all Jameson cases. It is our #1 priority on family, civil, and probate cases, that when there's a Jameson case, that there's coverage provided. Clearly, as I mentioned in my remarks, we are concerned that if we don't reverse the trend, that we will be at a place next year where we won't have enough court reporters to even cover those. It might even begin to impact our ability to cover the mandatory cases in the felony, criminal, juvenile dependency, and juvenile justice. And so in order for us to continue to do what we're doing today and what we have been doing of providing the coverage where we're required to do so by law or by case law, these efforts today are essential to allowing us to do that.
Thank you, VG. Okay, one last opportunity. Is there anyone else in the news conference today who would like to ask a question who has not already asked a question? Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, seeing none, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Slayton. Thank you, Presiding Judge Jessner. If you have any additional questions after the news conference, please feel free to email us at publicinfo@lacourt.org. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.